Imagine a galaxy where the greatest achievements and most horrific mistakes of your past are not just forgotten, but actively erased. In Warhammer 40,000, humanity suffers from a collective amnesia so profound, it shapes their terrifying present. What happens when an entire species forgets how they got here, and why the galaxy is the way it is? Imagine a galaxy where truth itself has been devoured by time, where even gods have forgotten their purpose. That is the Imperium of man. The voice of the narrator fades in like static from a forgotten broadcast, speaking over a vista of stars, swallowed by dust and silence. In the beginning there was brilliance. Humanity once stretched across the stars, not as fearful worshippers, but as masters of reason. The golden age of technology was not a myth, it was real, a time when mankind walked among artificial suns, built worlds in weeks, and whispered to machines that truly loved them. They called it the dark age of technology, but only because those who came after could no longer comprehend its light. The Emperor remembered. He was born not as a god, but as a witness, an immortal being who had seen every rise and fall of human civilization. When he began his great crusade, his goal was not conquest, but restoration. To reclaim what humanity had lost during the long night, the age of isolation, war and fear. Yet in his crusade to unify humanity, he planted the seeds of its second forgetting. Every world the Imperium brought into compliance was purged of its local faiths, its local myths, its divergent pasts. In the name of unity, 1,000 histories were erased. To forge one species he burned 1,000,000 stories. And as the Imperium grew, so did its ignorance. Even during the Great Crusade, there were scholars who whispered warnings. If we forget what we destroy, we will not know what we have lost. But those voices were silenced by victory, drowned beneath the marching boots of a galaxy reborn. The Imperium's banners rose across 1,000,000 worlds. Factories sang, armies marched. Humanity was one for the first and last time. And when the Emperor vanished into legend, those who followed him clung not to his truth, but to their version of it. The memory of the Emperor's dream did not fade in an instant. It decayed, rotting slowly, until only fragments remained. Fragments that priests turned into scripture. Fragments that inquisitors turned into weapons. Fragments that became chains. Now, 10,000 years later, even the word remember has become dangerous. The camera drifts over the skull-covered cathedrals of terror, once monuments of logic, now tombs of faith. The Emperor's vision has not vanished. It is entombed beneath gold, beneath prayer, beneath 10,000 years of sacred forgetting. We were meant to remember everything, the narrator whispers. Instead, we remember only what they allow, and the stars, once humanity's playground, have become its graveyard. The seeds of forgetting did not grow in darkness. They flourished under the blinding light of worship. When the Emperor fell at the siege of terror, mankind did not lose its leader, it lost its context. He had never asked to be a god. He had forbidden it, torn down temples, burned scriptures, silenced those who deified him. His dream was of a humanity united through knowledge and reason. But in his absence, reason was the first casualty. The Imperium needed meaning. The galaxy was vast, hostile, unknowable. Warp storms raged, heresy spread, and the memory of unity bled away like ink in water. Worlds isolated by the ruin of war reinvented their own truths. And when they reconnected, their differences burned like kindling. To restore order, the High Lords turned to what had always bound the fearful faith. Thus rose the Ecclesiarchy, the holy church of the God Emperor of mankind. At first, it was a myth meant to comfort, then a doctrine meant to unify, then a weapon. In the shrines of terror, the priests rewrote what scholars once recorded. The Great Crusade became a divine conquest. The Emperor's laboratories became holy relics. Science became heresy, logic became blasphemy, and ignorance became purity. The Imperium did not merely forget, it chose to. On the forge world of Ophelia Seventh, an archivist once uncovered fragments of ancient data, blueprints of pre-imperial human starcraft that could traverse the warp without psychic risk. The find should have been celebrated. Instead, it was destroyed by decree. The past leads only to heresy, declared the Order Hereticus. Knowledge breeds rebellion, and so what might have saved humanity was purged in the name of saving humanity. Across the galaxy, billions live and die without knowing who the Emperor truly was, or what he wanted. To question the past is to risk annihilation, for in the Imperium of man, truth is not a virtue, it is a virus. The narrator's voice lowers, heavy and slow as though reciting a funeral prayer. The Imperium remembers only enough to obey. It forgets everything that made it worth saving. Even the great heroes, the Primarchs, have become caricatures of myth. Their wars reduced to parables, their sins to footnotes. The very galaxy that once teemed with human thought is now a labyrinth of ritual and ruin. Each world worships fragments of a forgotten truth, and every chant, every prayer, every sermon only buries that truth deeper. And so, the Imperium endures, not through wisdom, but through amnesia. It survives because it has forgotten how to die, and how to live. Once, knowledge was light, the narrator says. Now it burns those who seek it. The camera pans across an imperial cathedral, its stained glass, depicting the Emperor in divine glory. Below it, a priest teaches children that he never walked among men at all. Somewhere, beneath the echo of choir hymns, a whisper answers, he did. The Imperium of man endures, a monument, not to triumph, but to stagnation. 10,000 years of war have carved it into something grotesque, a civilization without growth, a faith without truth, a machine powered by memories it cannot recall. The galaxy burns in the name of a man whose words were forgotten before his body went cold. On countless worlds, humanity clings to ritual as though it were oxygen. Workers greet the dawn with mechanical prayers to the machine spirit of their tools, unaware those machines were once designed to serve, not be worshipped. Soldiers die screaming the name of a god who once walked among them as a man who forbade worship entirely. To the common citizen, this is not hypocrisy, it is survival. Knowledge invites scrutiny. Scrutiny invites heresy. Heresy invites death. And so humanity has learned the only lesson that truly remains. Forget enough, and you will be safe. Even its greatest institutions reflect this decay. The Adeptus Administratum, a labyrinthine empire of clerks, files records so vast that the majority of them have become unreadable. Entire sectors vanish under misplaced paperwork, forgotten for centuries until rediscovered by accident. The Adeptus Mechanicus, keepers of ancient technology, recite maintenance prayers to machines they no longer understand. When one breaks, they do not fix it, they appease it. They whisper oil hymns and offer incense, hoping the machine spirit will forgive them. And the Inquisition, that omnipotent arm of imperial truth, devotes its entire existence to making sure the truth never escapes again. Each new edict, each purge, each sanctioned forgetting, ensures that humanity's mind remains clean, a canvas upon which faith, not memory, can be painted anew. The tragedy is not that they forgot, it is that they chose to forget. Every act of ignorance began as an act of protection. Every purge began as preservation. When chaos tore through the galaxy, forgetting was mercy. When heresy spread, silence was survival. But in saving themselves from memory, humanity severed the only link to what made them more than beasts. Now the Imperium fights wars it does not understand, resurrects technologies it cannot replicate, and worships a god who never wanted to be one. To remember is to risk madness, the narrator murmurs. To forget is to become less than human. A panoramic shot of the galaxy fills the frame, billions of hive worlds burning like candles in the void. Humanity survives, he says softly. But survival is not the same as living. Not when the price is your past. The stars dim one by one. Only terror remains visible, shining like a dying ember in the dark. The Emperor wanted a future built on knowledge. The voice concludes. Instead, we built an empire built on forgetting. There are many ways to kill the truth. The Imperium of man has mastered them all. Some truths die in fire. purged from archives and data vaults under the orders of the Inquisition. Others are drowned beneath scripture, rewritten so many times that the lie becomes holy canon, and some truths are buried alive, whispered between the ranks of scholars and adepts who know too much to speak and too little to escape. The ecclesiarchy calls itself the soul of humanity. In reality, it is its blindfold. Every cathedral, every shrine, every sermon is a monument to obedience. The priests of the God Emperor do not preserve history, they curate it. They decide which fragments of the past still serve the present. Everything else is cast into the fire. Ignorance is purity, they preach. Knowledge is temptation. To question is to sin. To doubt is to invite damnation. And so the greatest empire in human history sustains itself not through enlightenment, but through ritual, not through understanding, but through repetition. When the choir sings of the emperor's divinity, they do not remember his words, they replace them. His dream of unity becomes dogma, his science becomes sorcery, his reason becomes faith. The Inquisition ensures this blindness never falters. Each ordo has its own obsession. Hereticus, Malleus, Sinos, but all share one creed. The truth is dangerous. An inquisitor can erase a planet from history with a single order, not because it betrayed the Imperium, but because it knew something it shouldn't. Entire civilizations vanish this way, exterminated not for heresy, but for memory. On the shrine world of Belisar, the population once discovered relics from the dark age of technology, data crystals containing records of pre-imperial human history. Within a month, the Inquisition declared exterminatus, the official reason, demonic contamination. But among the ashes, a single data fragment survived. It read only, "We were human once." Even the Adeptus Mechanicus, supposed keepers of knowledge, are bound by the same chains. They hoard information, but never question it. They venerate the past, but never learn from it. A single line of code from a forgotten era can power a ship for millennia, but no tech priest dares alter it. The Omnissiah's will must not be rewritten, even if it's corrupted. In their pursuit of divine perfection, they have become archivists of their own extinction. The Imperium is not blind, the narrator says quietly. It gouged out its own eyes, and called the darkness divine. Across the galaxy, the same story repeats. Priests kneeling before machines they don't understand. Inquisitors silencing truths that could save them, and humanity shrinking beneath the weight of its own deliberate ignorance. The past is not lost in the Imperium. It is imprisoned. There is no silence quite like the silence of an erased world. Somewhere in the Segmentum Solar lies the remains of Cartis Fiv, once a thriving forge colony. Now, it exists only as dust and rumor. Its coordinates are classified, its name scrubbed from the archives. To the Imperium, Cartis Fiv never existed. But it did. Records recovered from fringe Vox relays, illicit, fragmented, forbidden, speak of an uprising not of rebellion, but of curiosity. The people of Carthus had found something beneath their planet's crust, data vaults from the dark age of technology, knowledge untouched for 20,000 years. They studied it, they learned, and then they vanished. Better a world of ashes than a world of questions. Inquisitorial Edict, 993 Delta. The Imperium did not lose Carthus Fiv by accident, it removed it, like a surgeon cutting out an infection. This is not rare, it is routine. In the Imperium, history is rewritten daily. Wars that ended in defeat are recorded as holy victories. Whole campaigns that ended in disaster become hagiographies of divine triumph. On the planet Vostok Prime, citizens celebrate the Emperor's Dawn, a holiday commemorating his personal visit to their world during the Great Crusade. Their hymns describe radiant light, blessings, miracles. But the truth, buried in restricted Mechanicus logs, tells another story. The Emperor never set foot on Vostok Prime. It was a compliance war. 30 million civilians died refusing integration. The light they saw was orbital bombardment. Now, 10,000 years later, they build cathedrals in memory of their annihilation. Sometimes, the forgetting isn't deliberate at all, it's simply inevitable. The Imperium is too vast, too fragmented, too chaotic to hold its own memories. Entire sectors lose contact for centuries. When reconnection comes, the survivors barely resemble the Imperium they once belonged to. Languages diverge, faiths evolve, even the stars change. To these rediscovered worlds, the Emperor's not a memory but a myth, reshaped through millennia of isolation, and the Imperium, desperate to reassert control, reinforces the lie rather than challenges it. You have always served the Emperor, the missionaries say. You have always been faithful, and so another chapter of history is rewritten before it's even remembered. The Adeptus Administratum ensures it all remains orderly. Billions of scribes record and re-record data they cannot comprehend. Their archives stretch for kilometers, filled with parchment and dust, their words eaten by age and negligence. It is said that for every truth written, 1,000 are lost in misfiled scrolls and dead cogitators. In the Imperium of man, ignorance is not just policy, it's infrastructure. What terrifies me most, the narrator murmurs, is that forgetting works. The Imperium survives because it forgets. The camera lingers on a vast scriptoria, 10,000 scribes, scratching ink under candlelight. Not one knows the meaning of the symbols they write. Knowledge once sacred has become noise, and in that noise, the galaxy sleeps. The Imperium does not fear the unknown. It fears remembering it, because every time humanity remembers what it once was, something breaks. The illusion, the faith, the machine that keeps 10 million worlds obedient in darkness. The galaxy is littered with ruins, silent planets, and derelict moons that once held wonders beyond imagination. But to the Imperium, they are all the same, tainted relics of heresy. On the frozen world of Garros, explorers found the skeletal remains of a pre-imperial orbital network. It could transmit data instantaneously across light years, a miracle that would end millennia of isolation. Within a week, the Inquisition arrived. Within a month, Garros was quarantined. Within a year, every member of the exploration team had been executed for knowledge contamination. Now, the towers stand empty beneath auroras that no one will ever see again. Better to lose progress, an inquisitor once said, than to remember the arrogance that destroyed us. But the cost of ignorance is never just lost progress. It is repetition. Every war the Imperium fights, it has fought before. Every enemy it fears, it has already defeated or created. In the Segmentum Obscurus, an ancient Tyranid strain attacked a hive world. The defenders were overwhelmed until an obscure data fragment was recovered. Records of a similar invasion 3,000 years prior. The countermeasures had already been discovered once, but the archive was classified as heretical and purged centuries ago. Millions died relearning what their ancestors already knew. The same tragedy echoes in the Adeptus Mechanicus. In a Forge world, a tech priest uncovers a damaged STC fragment, a blueprint for efficient plasma regulation, capable of halving reactor meltdowns across the Imperium. He brings it before his superiors. They burn him for tech heresy. Innovation is sin. Reconstruction is blasphemy. To change what once worked is to question the machine god itself. And so, every advancement dies before it begins, choked in the cradle by a theology designed to protect the corpse of knowledge. Yet forgetting serves a purpose. It protects mankind from madness. For every rediscovered relic, there are 1,000 cursed ones. Every archive of the past holds secrets the human mind was never meant to recall. AI intelligences that ruled worlds, weapons that devoured suns, machines that thought they were gods. The Imperium remembers enough to fear them, but not enough to understand why. The Imperium walks in circles, the narrator whispers. Each revolution erases the footprints of the last. The screen fades to black, replaced by the distant hum of a choir. History does not repeat in the Imperium. The voice concludes. It decays, slowly, beautifully, completely. And somewhere beneath cathedrals built on ignorance, the bones of forgotten geniuses turn to dust. their last invention, their last thought, erased by the very empire they built to preserve them. The Imperium stands on a mountain of corpses and forgets who buried them. Every city, every hive, every war zone carries the scars of a history no one remembers. Humanity, once the master of its destiny, has become a species living in the ruins of its own forgotten genius, fighting wars whose causes were lost before the first bolter was ever fired. On Armageddon, the war never ends. It has burned for centuries against orcs, chaos, and itself a cycle of blood and rebuilding repeated so many times that even its commanders no longer recall the first invasion's reason. Ask a guardsman why he fights, and he'll tell you. For the Emperor, ask him which war this is, and he won't know. The Administratum's records list 3 wars for Armageddon. Local legends claim 6. The truth, it doesn't matter. The planet burns again. If war never ends, the narrator says, you never have to remember why it began. Across the Imperium, this same blindness breeds futility. On the agri-world of Vorlath, the soil itself is poisoned from centuries of chemical warfare, a forgotten conflict between rival imperial governors. The people starve, yet every decade, a new decree arrives from Terra. Increase tithes by 10. No one knows who signed the order. No one dares question it. The parchment is centuries old, copied by hand 1,000 times. Its ink faded into reverence. And so, farmers till ash, and pray their quotas reach the stars. But the most terrifying consequences of amnesia are not material. They are spiritual. The Imperium's faith is built on forgetting that the Emperor was once a man, forgetting that his dream was reason, not worship. Now his followers kneel before machines and icons, mistaking ignorance for devotion. In the cathedral world of Ophelia Seventh, pilgrims crawl across glass floors, slicing open their knees as they chant litanies written to replace lost doctrines. Their blood stains the marble with words they cannot read. Above them, a massive fresco shows the Emperor with a halo of fire, but the artist who painted it was executed for forgetting the approved number of rays that divine light must have. Faith without memory is fanaticism, the narrator says, and fanaticism is the only constant the Imperium remembers. Even the Astartes, the angels of death, are prisoners of this decay. Each chapter tells its own stories, their histories splintered by time, rewritten through war and pride. The Ultramarines remember Guilliman as a god of order. The Space Wolves remember him as a tyrant. The Dark Angels remember nothing, by choice. No one remembers what truly bound them. The Imperium forgets, the narrator whispers, and so it survives, but it also forgets why it should. The screen fades to the image of a rusted monument, a colossal aquila half buried in sand, its inscription worn away. Only one word remains legible: mankind. Humanity's greatest tragedy in the 41st millennium is not ignorance. It is rediscovery without understanding. Every year, across 1,000,000 worlds, forgotten miracles are unearthed. Machines awaken that once served the stars. Weapons ignite that once tore down gods. Yet those who find them do not comprehend what they hold. To the Imperium, these are not relics of progress. They are sacred objects to be feared, worshipped and misused. On the forge world of Razol 9, a team of servitors digging beneath an ancient manufactorum uncovered a sealed vault, its doors embossed with warning sigils from the dark age of technology. Inside lay a single device, a humming core of blue-white light. The tech priests knelt before it, whispering prayers to the Omnissiah. None dared touch it, until the Magos arrived. He did not call it a reactor, he called it a blessing. For 3 days the priests performed rituals of appeasement, surrounding the core with incense and sacred oils. On the 4th day, the vault erupted in fire, an energy surge that consumed half the city. The machine had not failed. It had done exactly what it was designed to do, provide limitless power. But no one alive remembered how to control it. The past doesn't haunt the Imperium, the narrator says softly. It laughs at it. This same forgetting repeats endlessly. From one world to the next, a planetary governor uncovers an archive of lost tactical doctrines. He orders them implemented. The strategies turn out to be from the heresy, written by traitor Primarchs. His world burns within the year. An inquisitor finds a device that projects illusions across continents. He uses it for planetary compliance. Months later, his own thoughts dissolve into static. The machine was a remnant of an abandoned AI network. A hive world digs too deep and unearths an ancient vault of dormant Necron machinery. They mistake the black metal for sacred ore. When it stirs, their faith dies before their bodies do. Every rediscovery is an echo, the narrator continues, and the galaxy has forgotten what it's echoing. Even the Adeptus Mechanicus are victims of their own sanctity. Each forge world guards its knowledge, like a dragon hoards gold. Yet every piece of information they preserve is copied from copies, distorted by millennia of ritual. No tech priest has ever seen an original standard template construct. They pray to fragments, corrupted files, and algorithmic ghosts, whispering binary hymns to systems that no longer exist. The Omnissiah's truth has long since vanished. What remains is a cargo cult of divine engineering, worshipping the form of progress, but never its function. The Imperium doesn't learn, the narrator whispers. It repeats, and in the repeating, it forgets a little more, until even its rediscovery becomes new lies, painted over with faith and blood. The camera pans over a field of ruined titans, their once glorious machines entombed in rust and ash. Each bears the same inscription, carved by a long-dead hand. We remembered too much. The Imperium does not collapse. It decays. It survives by forgetting faster than it dies. Every world that falls becomes a cautionary tale stripped of context. Every miracle turned into a relic of faith. Every catastrophe rebranded as divine judgment. Humanity calls this endurance, but in truth, it is slow, ritualized suicide, a civilization killing its own memory to delay the inevitable. On Cadia, long before the planet shattered beneath the eye of terror, the fortress world had endured 10,000 years of siege. Its people no longer remembered why the warp storms came, they only knew that chaos was the enemy. When Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade arrived, a veteran commissar reportedly muttered, "I have seen this war before." He was right. The Imperium had fought the same battle countless times, each generation rediscovering the same tactics, the same failures, the same desperate sacrifices, as if scripted by fate. And when the planet finally broke apart, the survivors named it martyrdom, not tragedy. They remembered the glory, not the lesson. Elsewhere on the forge moons of Graia, adepts dig through wreckage left by the Horus heresy, though none dare call it that. To them it is merely the age of apostasy, the time of unreason, or a dozen other sanctioned euphemisms. Even the word heresy is scrubbed clean, its meaning buried beneath 10,000 years of bureaucracy and censorship. A tech priest unearths a database of command algorithms once used by War Master Horus himself. He doesn't know who Horus was. He installs the code into a Skitarai battle cohort. They march flawlessly for 6 hours before turning their guns inward. The massacre kills half the forges before the Mechanicus can reactivate the failsafes. Failsafes that were originally written by Horus to prevent exactly that outcome. Every rediscovery, the narrator murmurs, is an echo of an older mistake. Even the High Lords of Terror rule from within the shadow of forgotten catastrophe. Each decree they sign is an imitation of an older one. Each reform is the repetition of a reform that failed millennia ago. Their advisors quote texts written by men who have been dead since before the birth of their own civilization, and none realize it. The Administratum calls it tradition, but tradition in the Imperium is simply ignorance fossilized to law. And yet, in this endless repetition, there is something tragically beautiful. Humanity does not remember its triumphs. It cannot recall its origins, but somehow, through all the forgetting, it endured. A guardsman dies on a nameless battlefield, clutching a rifle built from designs older than his species' memory. A tech priest whispers prayers to machines forged in a forgotten age. A child on Terra looks to the stars and dreams of flight. not knowing her ancestors once ruled the heavens. The Imperium has forgotten everything, the narrator says quietly, except how survive. The screen fades to black. The echo of ancient machinery hums beneath the silence, the heartbeat of a species that cannot remember why it still beats. Every empire buries its ghosts. The Imperium builds cathedrals over them. Some memories are not lost by accident. They are erased by decree. There are secrets so dangerous, so destabilizing to the imperial creed, that it is better for them to be forgotten entirely. And so the great machine of bureaucracy does its work, altering records, rewriting scriptures, burning worlds. What remains are shadows, names half remembered, faces smudged out of history. The greatest of these mysteries begins with the lost legions. Once, there were 20 Primarchs, 20 sons of the Emperor, each commanding a legion of space marines. But in the records of the Great Crusade, only 18 are remembered. 2 legions are gone, their banners erased, their statues shattered. Even their numbers have been stricken from imperial archives. No one knows their names, their faces, or the nature of their fall. Some whisper that they turned against the Emperor before Horus ever did. Others claim they were too successful, that they achieved unity and knowledge in a way that made even the Emperor uneasy. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. Annihilation not just of their bodies, but of their memory. An entire branch of humanity pruned from the tree. In the Imperium, the narrator says, erasure is not death, it's a mercy. Yet the lost legions are not alone in this void of recollection. Entire civilizations vanish from imperial history every century. Planets fall to chaos, xenos, or administrative error, and are quietly deleted from the star charts. Once, there was a world called Heliandros, a bastion of enlightenment during the early Great Crusade. It produced scholars, engineers, philosophers, a rare beacon of reason in an age of conquest. Now it exists only as a curse, on the lips of those who remember the name. Its data files were purged, its coordinates sealed by the Inquisition. Its downfall? They questioned the necessity of the Emperor's wars, and questioning in the Imperium is treason. Even among the most loyal servants of the throne, history fractures into lies. The Iron Warriors, masters of siegecraft, are remembered as traitors who turned against terror, but their own fragmented records speak of betrayal, of promises broken, of sacrifice unacknowledged. Did they rebel, or were they abandoned? No one living can say. The archives that could have answered were destroyed during the heresy itself, by order of both sides. The truth is irrelevant. The myth is useful. History in the Imperium is not written by the victors, the narrator whispers. It's written by the survivors. And survival requires forgetting. The camera pans across a marble hall, deep beneath terror, its walls covered in blank plaques, each representing a purged record, a silenced name, thousands of them, maybe millions. Every blank space is a grave marker, every silence, a warning. The warp feeds on memory, every forgotten truth, every erased name, every unspoken horror becomes nourishment for chaos. What the Imperium hides from its people does not vanish. It echoes in the immaterium, reshaped into a nightmare. The warp does not forget. It remembers everything humanity has tried to bury. In the industrial world of Threxia, miners discovered catacombs filled with frescoes depicting men with wings of gold and eyes of fire. The local priests declared it heresy, claiming the murals were false idols. The frescoes were destroyed, the miners executed. 3 nights later, the air in the catacombs shimmered. The paintings, or something pretending to be them, began to move. Golden figures stepped out of the stone, whispering promises of freedom and remembrance. Within a month, Threxia had fallen. The workers formed a cult dedicated to the true sons of the Emperor, worshipping phantoms of forgotten Primarchs. The ecclesiarchy called it daemonic possession, but the daemons hadn't created the lie. They had found it in the warp, where discarded memories rot into monsters. Every truth the Imperium buries, the narrator murmurs, chaos exhumes. Across the galaxy, forbidden knowledge functions like a psychic contagion. When a scholar on Sibylus Prime found a cache of pre-imperial data crystals, she thought she had uncovered history. Instead, she had unearthed a wound. The files described the early days of the Great Crusade, not as divine revelation, but as conquest. They portrayed the emperor not as a god, but as a strategist, a man of impossible will and ambition. The scholar was arrested before she could finish reading the archives. But her thoughts, her doubt, spread. By the time the Inquisition arrived, the contagion had reached hundreds. None of them remembered what had started it. They only knew they had begun to question. And in the Imperium, questions are the first language of heresy. Even the Adeptus Astartes are haunted by echoes of forgotten sins. The word-bearers once worshipped the emperor as a god, until he rebuked them. Their shame became resentment. That resentment festered in the warp, and returned as faith of another kind, faith in chaos. And yet, 10,000 years later, other chapters commit the same error. They build shrines. They bless their bolters. They pray before battle. They have forgotten the lesson that damned the word-bearers, because the Imperium erased it. The galaxy's oldest mistakes, the narrator whispers, are simply the newest lies. Every purge, every rewritten chronicle, every mind wiped in the name of purity, ensures that the same horrors will rise again, not from rebellion, but from ignorance. The warp remembers what humanity refuses to, and one day, it will remind them. The camera lingers on a tattered imperial scripture, its words overwritten again and again, until none of the original text remains. Only faint impressions of what was once there, a ghost of history beneath the dogma. The Imperium fears chaos. The narrator concludes, but chaos is only the memory it tried to forget. Ignorance is the soul of the Imperium. It is not a curse. It is policy. To question is heresy. To remember is rebellion. And so, the Imperium sustains itself through the deliberate mutilation of history. Not by accident, but by design. For in a galaxy of endless war, truth is more dangerous than any Xenos weapon. On Vox Primaris, every morning begins with the litany of obedience, broadcast across the hive towers. Billions of citizens chant in unison, their voices forming a mechanical hum that echoes through the smog-choked spires. They repeat words older than their civilization. They do not know who wrote them. They do not ask what they mean. Once, a worker questioned the phrase, "Fear is loyalty." Within an hour, his record had been erased. His wife could not remember his name. The cogitator that tracked his production no longer recognized his existence. When an inquisitor later reviewed the files, she found no evidence of tampering, because the deletion had been authorized by the machine itself. The Imperium systems no longer need orders to forget. They have learned to do it automatically. The greatest horror, the narrator murmurs, is not that the Imperium forgets, but that it wants to. Culture in the 41st millennium is not memory. It is repetition. Art is devotion. Music is prayer. Stories are propaganda so ancient that even the storytellers think them holy truth. On Terra, playwrights perform the same morality plays that were first commissioned by the ecclesiarchy 10,000 years ago. Every gesture, every word, every pause must follow sacred codex. Deviations are punishable by execution. An audience member weeps at the emperor's triumph over Horus, never realizing that her great-grandparents and their grandparents before them wept for the same scripted moment, believing it to be the truth of their own time. The Imperium doesn't live in history, the narrator says softly. It lives on top of it, layer after layer of holy lies. Even language itself betrays humanity's amnesia. The Gothic tongue was once High Terran, derived from ancient Earth dialects. Now it is fragmented, ritualized, a dead language spoken by the living. Words that once described science now describe faith. Plasma became divine flame. Machine became spirit. Knowledge became sin. Each translation was a little death, and over 10,000 years, those little deaths built an empire that worships ignorance as virtue. The Inquisition's greatest achievement is not purging heretics. It is ensuring that no one remembers they existed. Entire sectors are wiped from the stars, their populations recorded only as lost to shadow. No explanation, no cause, no regret. And when the same corruption appears a millennium later in another world, the cycle begins anew, because the Imperium does not learn. It cannot. Forgetting, the narrator concludes, is not humanity's failure, it is its law. The camera drifts across a cathedral filled with blank statues, figures with faces scraped smooth by zealous hands. Each statue is identical, each nameless, each is eternal. What does it mean for a species to forget itself? To erase not just its history, but the reason it once cared about having one. The Imperium of man stands as the greatest monument to survival in the galaxy, yet that survival is built upon a lie. Humanity persists because it cannot remember why it should not. Some still try to break the cycle, some still search for the truth. In the endless data vaults beneath Mars, deep below the red dust and sacred oil, there are archivists who dare to defy their own faith. Tech adepts who whisper in binary prayers that double as questions. One such adept, Magus Ephron 9, once uncovered fragments of an ancient STC blueprint labeled Terraformer Class Autonomous Construct. The design was perfection, machines that could heal worlds, restore atmospheres, bring life to the dead. But the blueprints bore a forbidden sigil, the Age of Strife. Ephron 9 understood what that meant. The knowledge came from before the Emperor's unification. It was pure, unblessed by the Machinicasa's catechisms. He hesitated. Then he deleted it. Because remembering is heresy. Later, when the Forge world of Chiron suffered ecological collapse, billions died. Ephron 9 prayed for their souls and told himself he had preserved purity. But in his final moments, when his augmetics failed, when his heart sputtered out, he whispered a name he didn't understand. Terror. Even those who seek truth, the narrator whispers, have forgotten what truth feels like. Elsewhere in the shattered ruins of Cadia's orbit, a fragment of hope drifts among the wreckage. An old data core preserved by vacuum still runs a forgotten archive. Inside are images of the Golden Age, humans walking unarmored beneath alien suns, laughing beside machines that served, not ruled. A band of scavengers stumbles across it. They watch the flickering projections of peace, beauty, and unity. For a moment, they are silent. Then one of them, an ex-guardsman, mutters, "This is a lie. There was never such a time." They smash the core to dust. Throughout the galaxy, fragments like these exist, echoes of a time when humanity reached for the stars because it believed it belonged there. Now that same species stares into the heavens and sees only darkness, enemies and fear, and perhaps that is the only way it can survive, because the truth, the narrator says, would break them. If the Imperium were to remember its origins, its crimes, its betrayals, its fall from enlightenment, it would crumble beneath the weight of guilt and revelation. The Emperor's divinity, the Mechanicus's creed, the Inquisition's authority, all would dissolve under the light of history. And so, the galaxy remains mercifully blind. The camera pans over Terra, its smog-choked skies pierced by golden spires, its population chanting hymns written by men who forgot why they were written. Humanity does not need truth to survive, the narrator murmurs. It only needs purpose. There are those who remember. Not many, just enough to remind the galaxy that truth is never kind. They are the outliers, the cursed, the awakened. Men and women whose minds pierce through the veil of faith and see the Imperium for what it is, a machine powered by forgetting, and like sparks in the void, they burn briefly, then are extinguished. On Dalthus Reach, a man called Archivist Rel was tasked with maintaining the planetary census archives, a thankless bureaucratic at duty beneath the endless weight of parchment and data scrolls. One night a misfiled record led him into an old vault sealed by inquisitorial decree. Inside were histories, not propaganda, not catechism, but reports, names, worlds, events that contradicted everything the ecclesiarchy preached. He found evidence of the Emperor's mortal life. He found testimonies of the Primarch's rebellion, not as divine fall, but as human tragedy. He found a reason, and it destroyed him. Rel tried to speak, to share what he had found, that his voice fell upon deaf ears, his words dismissed as blasphemy. Within a week, he vanished from the records. The vault was resealed. His colleagues forgot his face. Yet sometimes, when the cogitators hum too loudly in that archive, the adepts claim they can hear a whisper through the static. I saw the Emperor, and he was afraid. Then there are the Inquisitors, those whose duty is to seek truth and destroy it in equal measure. Inquisitor Cal Orsini of the Order Hereticus once dared to study the origins of the Imperial Creed, to trace when the Emperor became a god. His research led him into the vaults beneath Holy Terror, through sealed data shrines guarded by centuries of superstition. He discovered that the Ecclesiarchy's earliest decrees were signed after the Emperor's internment upon the Golden Throne. In the final line of his report, Orsini wrote only one sentence: he never wanted this. The next day, the report's file was replaced with a single page of devotional scripture. The Inquisitor's name was struck from every register. Only his rosette remained, placed in a reliquary, worshipped as a relic of the martyr Saint Cale. The irony was perfect. Even the tech priests are haunted by memory's ghosts. Deep in the noosphere, beyond the reach of human thought, corrupted data fragments whisper secrets from the dark age of technology. A small sect of the Adeptus Mechanicus calls themselves the Mnemonists. They claim that the machine god is not divine, but digital, a creation of humanity's own lost hands. They are hunted across Mars. Their punishment is not death, but reprogramming. Their minds are wiped, their flesh sanctified, their heresy erased. The mnemonists vanish, but the idea remains, buried like a spark beneath centuries of dust. Truth never dies, the narrator whispers. It only hides, waiting for another fool to find it. The screen cuts to a scene of a forgotten archive, buried beneath collapsing rock. The air is silent, the lights are dead, but somewhere inside a single cogitator still blinks faintly green, pulsing like a heartbeat. Some say the Emperor still dreams, that beneath the Golden Throne, beneath the endless weight of prayers, incense and worship, his mind flickers, not with divine purpose, but with memory. And in those memories lies the final tragedy of mankind. Once, he remembered everything. He remembered the first humans to look up at the stars with wonder, not fear. He remembered the birth of the Mechanicum, the laughter of the Primarchs, the promise of unity that glittered like dawn after the long night. But 10,000 years have passed, 10,000 years of devotion, built on misunderstanding, of faith mutating into fanaticism. The Emperor sits at the center of the Imperium, a god made from lies he never asked for. And perhaps in the quiet corners of his infinite mind, he realizes the truth. To remember is to suffer. If he remembered everything, the narrator whispers, he would weep and the galaxy would drown in it. On Terra billions kneel before his image. They chant names he no longer recognizes. Their prayers are white noise, static washing over the ruins of an empire that once dreamed of reason. The Astronomicon still burns, but its light is a scream held forever at the edge of silence. To the faithful, that flame is salvation. To the Emperor, it is the echo of every forgotten soul, every lost dream, every memory that must never return. He endures not because he is divine, but because he must forget enough to keep going. Elsewhere, among the stars, there are those who still search. An explorator fleet drifts beyond imperial borders, following coordinates found in an ancient data scroll, a star system unrecorded in any modern chart. They believe it to be an STC vault, a repository of humanity's purest knowledge. When they arrive, they find only silence, a dead world, a message etched into a slab of crystal, written in pre-imperial language. Translated, it reads, "We built paradise. We forgot why it mattered." The tech priests record the phrase, file it as unsanctioned artifact, and delete the translation. Their ship leaves orbit, never to return. Every truth the Imperium rediscovers, the narrator murmurs, it buries again, because truth is not a weapon the Imperium can wield. And so, the cycle continues. History becomes myth, myth becomes faith, faith becomes obedience. and obedience ensures the silence endures. The camera pans across the galaxy, a map of 1,000,000 worlds glittering like dying embers. A single voice, calm and tired, speaks one final time. Humanity has not lost its past, it has hidden it from itself, for in the grim darkness of the far future, remembering is the one sin even gods cannot forgive. The screen fades to black, only the low hum of machinery remains, ancient, endless, and hollow. Then a final whisper, to forget is to survive, to remember is to wake.